right.
Okay, good.
So, your name and your preferred medium.
Marc Rubin, my preferred medium is oil painting.
Have a little bit about your education and background.
Well, I went to school for graphic design, and I studied that for 2 years, and then I got through doing that, and I was employed as a graphic designer in a screen printing house. And then I met Tom Buechner, and I studied with Tom Buechner. That's where I got my oil painting. Real background was from him. I studied with Tom twice a week for 10 years. I did portraits and I did still lifes with him on Sundays.
What and who inspired you to pursue a career in art?
Tom, I mean, I can talk about Tom all day long. I mean, he introduced me to oil painting. He introduced me to classical music. He introduced me to some amazing artists. He turned out to be a very close friend, intimate friend. So we shared friendship as well as fellowship. And he was a very significant influence on my life for sure.
Great. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind the series that you're providing for Mosaic this year.
Well, the doodles, these are all doodles I put in this particular show. And they're all out of my head. I draw them on, they're digital drawings, but they're done as analog as I can be on an iPad. I use a pencil, and I use a 6B pencil on a textured paper. And they're all out of my head. There's not anything in front of me when I'm doing them. So I call them random thoughts because that's really what they are. I mean, this particular year I didn't put a lot of political stuff in because it's just too much fodder, so I just wanted to stay back off of that. So I try to make some of them fun. I have a new grandson named Jack. He's about 2 years old. So some things in there that are inspired by just the fact that he's on this earth. There's other ones there that are inspired by, I could look at something and go for a walk and something will catch my eye and then it'll be a doodle. Or I'll just start moving the pad around and moving the pencil around, and I start to see something, and then that something turns into something. Then I'll look at it for a while, and I'll come back to it and visit it again, and all of a sudden it's called peeling an onion. It just kind of evolves into an idea. So I'm inspired by life in every aspect, whether I'm looking up, down, or around, reading, television, watching people, being in class. As you can see, they're pretty. And birds, I like to play. I make up my own birds and my own stories. And, it's just a little playful.
Great. Tell me, why do you believe art is important?
It's a wonderful question to ask, and you could either talk about it for 2 seconds, or you could talk about it for your life. But for me, and this has been asked me before, it's like, how do you define the love of your child? Just do. I mean, it's just something. It's on every molecule of your body. And I always use this as the analogy of hold your breath, for a few seconds, and then take that breathe, cleansing breath. That's what art is for me personally. It is breath. I could not live without it. And then for what it is for me to share is, I'll see. This is the painting side of things. I'll see little moments where I'm for a walk and I'll see something that can make a great landscape, so I'll plan on coming back and doing that. Or I drove by the pumpkin patch on the 352 a couple of weeks ago and the light was just right, so I came back and painted that. I'm inspired and moved by just life, everyday things, and try to paint everyday things in a way that everything deserves a little bit of moment, so. That's kind of the philosophy behind it, and just that I love to do it.
Great. So in addition to being one of our Mosaic artists, you also teach classes here at 171,
yes. Right.
Specifically right now, still life oil painting.
Right.
Just curious if you can tell people what they would expect to learn in one of your classes here.
When it first started off, it was more like intermediate, and the more that it is, there's more people they would like to start painting again. So my philosophy now is, if you have the desire and you really want to learn, you come into my class, And the way I teach is I sit up in the front and I paint, so everybody can see what I'm doing. This way it was when I painted with Tom Beacon. You could sit so you could see what he was doing. You learn by watching. We're all visual people. So I asked them to do their best, to learn what they need to learn at this particular point and station their own growth. And I walk around at different times. I take a pause and walk around multiple times throughout the evening and give them pointers as to where they are in their particular painting, whether it's working on color or values or edges or drawing. It was all worked on all the time, but I don't want anyone to compare themselves to anyone else as to where they are when they walked in, to have a good time. We listened to wonderful music. We tended up all being friends. When we could hug, we used to all hug because we were all friends. Some have been painting with me for a decade. Some are brand new. So it's enjoying it, hopefully get the same kind of pleasure that I get out of it. It's like a breath of fresh air. It takes you away from whatever you've experienced throughout the day. If it's not your career, if it's a hobby or just something you love to do, it's a way of incredible escape.